From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up on AgDay, helping horses by educating their humans. In Outdoors on the Farm, how to take a spot that's been in the red and make it green.
There's a lot of financial incentives out there to help undercut that cost to the producer.
And more agreement between the U.S. and China.
While the trade war ending would be a great thing, I don't think that's the end-all be-all.
AgDay, presented by the Chevy Silverado and the all-new Silverado HD, the strongest, most advanced family of Silverados ever.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. U.S. stocks trading in record territory on Thursday, with traders reacting after seeing more signs of progress that trade tensions between the U.S. and China are easing. Here's the latest. Now, according to a Chinese Commerce Ministry spokesman, Washington and Beijing have agreed to gradually cancel tariff hikes as trade negotiations continue. He told reporters that both sides reach a first phase agreement. Then based on that deal, they will cancel already imposed tariffs proportionately. He said, quote, economic and trade teams from both sides have been in constant communication. The two sides had planned to sign a Phase 1 trade agreement at the APEC summit later this month in Chile, but the summit was canceled due to unrelated protests. Now both sides are looking for another site to hold the signing ceremony. A source telling Bloomberg Iowa and Alaska were talked about, but have since been ruled out, and also reporting the signing may not happen until December.
I think it will be something that will help the mentality of the market and the trade war is over. But I think there's bigger things to work through. We need to get their hog herd back online. We need the demand for soy meal to get back to levels where we saw pre-trade war. The timing of the trade war with ASF was horrible and probably the worst thing that we could have seen. And all those things will change over the next couple of years. But while the trade war ending would be a great thing, I don't think that's the end-all be-all.
Here's an update on the tariffs. By the numbers, according to the Wall Street Journal, the U.S. collected $7 billion in import tariffs in September. That's the most the U.S. has ever brought in. Tariff revenue jumped 9% from August and was up more than 59% from a year earlier. And China is continuing to buy U.S. agriculture, especially when it comes to soybeans. USDA reporting in its weekly export sales that China purchased more than 956,000 metric tons of soybeans, also announcing a flash sale of 136,000 metric tons of beans to China on Thursday. The country purchasing some pork as well. Now, China is resuming imports of pork and beef from Canada, and as it combats swine fever. The move comes almost 5 months after Beijing suspended all meat imports from Canada, and it follows a dispute over Canada's detention of a top executive at the Chinese tech company Huawei. China's state-owned news agency reporting the country is considering removing restrictions of poultry imports from the U.S. Sometimes a little change of pace can make all those chores a little easier, as meteorologist Kimberly Newman shows us in today's crop comments.
Someone is definitely ready to help out on the farm. Check out this young lady. Mark Hogue of Good Hope, Illinois shares this video with us saying, quote, our secret ingredient for getting pigs, picture ready. Just look at the way they dance right along with her. Now, if you take a look at the jet stream, this is setting us up for an incredibly cold weather pattern into the beginning of next week. Parts of the northern plains, the Great Lakes, and heading towards the northeastern seaboard, we are going to experience the coldest weather of the season so far, along with much warmer weather for this time of year heading out towards the west coast. I'll have more on your full forecast coming up in just a bit.
We're diving into the beef market today and how long that price improvement could continue, plus helping keep these majestic creatures happy and healthy. Some horse sense later in the country. Scientists are looking at ways to possibly double sorghum yields. Researchers with USDA's Agricultural Research Service and Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory are doing field trials and genetic studies on this right now. A sorghum grain is produced in clusters of flowers, and the plant has two types of flowers. one that produces grain and another that does not. The researchers have shown in a series of published reports that mutating a key gene in sorghum inhibits production of a hormone and that plants with reduced levels generate more of the fertile type of flowers and therefore grow more grain. They have also laid out a potential strategy for increasing the yields not only of sorghum, but of other grain crops such as corn, wheat, and rice. Soybeans saw double-digit gains on Thursday thanks to China buys, but traders right now are looking ahead to today's WASDE report. Here's an update from the CME.
China suggesting that the U.S. have agreed to walk back some tariffs that was not confirmed from the United States until a bit later in the trading session, where you started to see soybeans rally and some of that spillover strength in beans spill into corn and wheat a little bit to bring them off their lows. Nothing spectacular in those markets. I think a lot of market participants just kind of waiting, sitting on their hands, seeing what tomorrow's WASDE report comes out as. And it just so happens we're at some very important inflection points from the technical standpoint. For December corn, 377 to 380 is the pocket that I think is going to set the tone going forward. A close above here, I think, keeps the bulls in charge. Close below, I think, puts the bears in charge here. And we have seen the cattle complex just kind of chopping around. The fat cattle have been a little bit softer, something that has been elusive for the bear camp here over the last month to 2 months, really. We had our second consecutive lower close yesterday. This only happened one other time since marking lows on September 9th. So potentially the market's getting a little bit tired up here, but again, not to sound like a broken record, we've said that quite a few times, as the market has been overbought for over a month straight now, but it does look like the buyers are starting to step away. 120 is the line in the sand for. If the bulls cannot achieve a conviction closeout above here, I wouldn't be surprised to see some long liquidation take us down towards 114.25 to 115. It'd be a healthy correction. It's right about where cash is as well. So it's been all over slope with blue line futures from the floor of the CME.
John Payne with Daniels Trading, our guest today. John, let's talk about this cattle market, because we have seen after that Tyson fire, prices drop, but we've seen these prices strengthen over the last few weeks and month or so. What's your read on where we sit now?
Well, the box beef cutout's been leading us higher. Cash is strong. The retail side is continuing to buy. I think we're up $20 from the low in the middle part of September on that December futures contract. So it's being led by the fat side. The feeders are a part of this as well, but I think we're getting to a point now where you got to pump the brakes a little bit. We think that next cattle on feed number is going to be huge. Okay. And feeders around 145. It's essentially right where we were a year ago. So January, spring contracts get up to that point. I think they're worth a hedge. Near dated stuff, I would probably just look to move if you feel like the basis is good enough. Obviously, winter weather is a concern, but global growth is going to be what drives this story back to 160 if it's going to have a chance to get there on the feeder side. And in our opinion, given that the increase in numbers, the competition factor really isn't there. And plus, we've seen a big bubble come out of the protein trade on the sock side, and not into the alternative meats, quote unquote, but you've seen companies like Beyond Meat that had that huge bubble come into the market in the summer. That's all come out now. So you got to be real careful, in our opinion. Obviously, you don't want to short it too soon, but 117 on December futures, considering we were just at 105 a month ago, I think that the rally's long in the tooth here.
How closely tied to the ASF issues and the China issues is this beef market? Is that protein problem going to drive some of these beef prices? I
think in the long run, that's the issue, and that's when I mentioned the company like Beyond Meat. That's the only one who trades publicly, so you can kind of follow them. And I think the money out there that looks way out into the future knows we're going to have a protein issue here. Okay. And especially if the ASF hits in this country. And a lot of folks I speak to think it will at some point. We haven't seen it on this side of the world yet, but doesn't mean it won't be. Yeah. Long run, it's going to pay to be a feeder. I think whether you're feeding chickens, hogs, pork, or trying to get into some sort of protein trade on the side, I think that's the environment that the world's looking to move in, and that'll keep beef prices competitive. I go into restaurants, people are willingly paying $10 for hamburgers now. So I don't think the market needs to trade below $100 on the live. I certainly think there are buys there, but when that April gets up to 130, we've been there each of the last 3 seasons. Yeah. I think that's where you got to look to try to move and zig a little bit.
All right, well, appreciate the insights. Thank you so much. We'll be back with more Ag Day coming up in just a minute.
To find John's newsletter, This Week in Grain and Oilseeds, head over to www.thisweekingrain.com.
Hey y'all, Justin Moore here. Get ready to kick up some dust with the Rock Sword Dirt Roads and a Country Show sweepstakes. Enter now for a chance to win a customized off-road Roxor and 2 VIP tickets to one of my upcoming concerts. Visit roxoroffroad.com/Justin Moore.
With this sinking air mass of cold air through the Great Lakes region, a lot of folks will be preparing for the first major snowfall of the season next week. Meanwhile, if we look closely, there are several high-pressure systems hovering right through the midsection of the nation, keeping us warm, dry, and comfortable. As we move forward, it's this low-pressure system right off the coast that continues to force moisture and rain showers farther to the east. Meanwhile, the next low-pressure system moving in will be responsible for some significant snowfall that will originate in the northern plains and in the northwest, I should say, heading into the northern plains. A warm front on the leading edge there creates a little bit of a warm sector just below that system, but south of there is where you really have to go to get any heat and warmth heading into your Saturday. Meanwhile, more snow will build through the upper peninsula of Michigan as a cold front trailing behind creates a secondary band of snow likely to impact folks through parts of Montana and Idaho getting into the second half of the weekend. So we don't see a lot of rain. Overall, that best chance of rain developing here is going to be for the East Coast, and even those showers are already pretty much off the coastline and moving out towards open water. Meanwhile, we're watching to the north as we see some snow mixing with rain developing, and certainly some snow developing there as well. As we head Friday into Saturday, snow showers will fall through northern Minnesota, parts of Wisconsin, and of course in the UP of Michigan. Temperatures across the region will be quite cold in some areas. Moving forward, you'll see that diving air mass of chilly air. Cincinnati reaching 23 degrees as a wake-up temperature tomorrow morning. Meanwhile, we're in the 60s farther off towards Los Angeles and Phoenix. And as we move forward here, more cold air is going to pool off to the north and east as warmer conditions are going to build in parts of El Paso and, of course, back towards Phoenix towards the 70s. Meanwhile, we're talking wind chill as well. So this map shows us what it feels like. Even though temperatures are staying relatively above the freezing point, we see these colder temperatures really developing. That wind chill in Minneapolis, 8 degrees, and more of those colder conditions will swing on through, even with daily highs only feeling like the 20s. Much of that cold air will finally move out, replacing it with warmer air later as we head through the middle of November. That's a look at what's happening across the country. Now let's take a look at what's happening in your neck of the woods. Buffalo, New York, receiving some light snow showers with calm conditions and a high of 33 degrees. Macon, Georgia, rain showers and gusty winds with a high of 61. Sandy, Utah, sunny and nice with a high of 62.
When we come back, Chip Flory heads outdoors on the farm to continue his discussion around managing farm fields for wildlife, and later, take a ride with Charles Denny.
I'm Charles Denny. Tennessee is a huge state for horses. How animal owners learn to keep these beautiful creatures healthy. That story from the University of Tennessee in Knoxville coming up on AgDay.
Your next piece of equipment is on MachineryPete.com. Search equipment from dealerships across the country to find what you're looking for. Only on MachineryPete.com.
I'm Justin Moore. Welcome to Outdoors on the Farm, brought to you by my friends at Roxor. From muddy trails to dusty work sites to hidden hunting spots, nothing gets you through it like a rugged Roxor. It's a side-by-side unlike any other.
Outdoors on the farm, where I was born, I was raised, and I'll do whatever it takes to stay. Outdoors on the farm.
Talking with Josh Diven from Pheasants Forever, and Josh, we've been talking about the concept of precision conservation, pinpointing where it works best, and now I want to talk about using all the resources available, which includes you, right?
Yeah, I mean, my role with Pheasants Forever as a precision ag and conservation specialist is specifically engineered to work directly with farmers, to work with their data, work through all those different things to identify the red, the unprofitable acres. And then from there, it's about kind of having a conversation with the farmer, what their objectives are, what alternatives they have to taking that part of the farm from red to green, making that profitable. And to do that, there's all kinds of programs and help out there. So I'm one resource. I'd mentioned the USDA Service Center is another. And Pheasants Forever has 260 biologists of different varieties across the country in 26 different states that deliver technical assistance directly to farmers. So farmers should reach out to those guys, have a conversation, and those biologists will work with the producer to identify the objective and then go from there. There's tons of options in what can be done.
Okay, so we've identified that spot on the farm. It's time to get something established. What kind of information might a farmer expect to get from you?
There's a lot of financial incentives out there to help undercut that cost to the producer, because we're talking dollars and cents here. So we're not going to expect them to do it out of their own pocket on their own.
And you're going to give them advice on how to get ground established, right?
Oh, absolutely.
To cover established.
What program to use, and then how to actually go from unprofitable cropland to cover like this, because there's a lot of steps involved there. But there's Pheasants Forever and other technical service providers that can help get you there. What you want to do is you're trying to make sure that the stuff you plant actually grows, right? As opposed to the ag weeds out there. So what you're doing is you're trying to, as your desirables are coming up, you're coming in and giving that project a haircut, taking the seed heads off of everything competing with your natives.
Gotcha.
So 2 or 3 times a summer, we say is when it gets about your knee height, come in and cut it down half that, and do that as much as you need to. And it's different. Every year is different based on.
You're giving the new growth a chance to come up through brome grass or whatever the heck is in there. People think that brome grass is just fantastic, but what a pain in the butt stuff.
Yeah, brome grass will fight native grasses like that. And I mean, in my opinion, I'd rather have something like this that's going to deliver way more wildlife benefit than a smooth brome grass.
Great conversation there, Josh, on how to get that grassland, that native grassland established. There's a lot of work to it, a lot of steps that need to happen, but if you do it right, it is so worth it, isn't it?
Yep, and there's people to help you.
Yeah, absolutely, guys like you.
Yep.
All right, thank you, Josh. Appreciate it so much. That is Josh Diven. I'm Chip Flory. This is Outdoors on the Farm.
Horses are some of nature's most majestic creatures, and it's important for us to take good care of them. Well, the University of Tennessee Extension put together a series of equine management field days across Tennessee, and Charles Denny reports on how it's helping people and their horses.
Beautiful animals cared for at UT's College of Veterinary Medicine, marching in for a night of attention and pampering. Tennessee has the 9th largest horse and pony population in the U.S., and that includes lots of human horse owners too. UT Extension's equine and veterinary specialist recently held horse management field days statewide. Jenny Ivey with the UT Institute of Agriculture's Animal Science Department says horse ownership tends to fall into 2 categories, recreational and business.
And so we're really hoping to be able to continue to let people know that Extension has an equine component, and we're here to help them be able to answer whether it's nutrition, management, health questions.
Field day visitors got to put their hands on horses, learning health tips and even listening with a stethoscope. They also practice bandaging and leg wrapping, a critical skill to have, especially if you're in a rural area and a veterinarian can't get to you immediately.
So today's topics specifically are going to cover first aid, including how to take temperature, pulse, and respiration on your horse, what those normal parameters look like, and things that you should look for if your horse is in an emergency. We're also going to go through disaster preparedness.
A few facts about horses. They have the largest eyes of any land mammal. They're not really colorblind, though they do see certain colors better than others. And they have roughly the same number of bones as a human. Other areas covered, nutrition. Now through best management practices, improved forages and feeds are available for horses and other equids. Gloria Drake has attended these field days before and says the skills she gained helped her not long ago when she had a sick horse.
Luckily, I was able to identify those signs early. So I was able to call my vet and say, here are the vital signs, which I learned from this class, but here are the vital signs, here's what his temperature is, here's what his heart rate is. So everything checked out normally, but I also knew that he was acting uncomfortably.
Drake and other owners here love their horses and take pride in giving them a quality life. This is Charles Denny reporting.
All right, thanks, Charles, and that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. It's been part of your day with us. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.